Hello everyone, it's Lindsay, and today I'm back with another Word Study Wednesday for you guys, continuing on this series through the Living Stones word focus cards from Open Journey. I will have that unboxing linked down below for you guys if you haven't seen it yet. I have been putting out content every week for the last 4 weeks now, a process video and a word study that kind of pair together. Like I mentioned in the video this week that came out yesterday, I'll have that link down below and also in a card for you guys. I am away at retreat, so I'm filming this ahead of time, and thankfully the study was a little bit easier this week. That way I could kind of get everything prepped to be gone. I have just been filming from sunup to sundown, making sure I have plenty of videos for you guys, and so you won't miss me. It'll be like I'm still here producing things for you guys. So I'll put a timestamp down below if you want to just fast forward to the art process. The art process will be fairly straightforward as well for this video. I'm really loving the color palette I have going on over here though, so I can't wait to see how that comes together. But for today's word, we are looking at the word stone. And this, I mean, ideally probably should have been the first card that we did as we kicked off the series. But let me pull those other cards so you can kind of see what we've worked through so far. Okay, so far we've worked through church, speak, and altar. Love all of these so far. So I've been trying to pair the card with that week's Bible journaling process and study that I did. And so church ended up being the first one just because it better fit with that first day. But I definitely wanted to come back to stone. And this kind of feels like a good breather moment. We're going to look at some passages that we've already covered the last few weeks. And then there are lots in here that will be covered kind of continuing on through the devotional. So it seems like a good kind of intermission while I'm gone here. So for the word stone, Ingrid does have some Old Testament and New Testament for us. So you're going to see two different words here. We have the New Testament, or the Greek, 3037. If you're not familiar with what that is, I will link a Tip Tuesday down below where I show how I do a word study, where I get that information. It seems like I'm repeating myself, but I know some of you just stumble upon these videos, and I want to make sure you guys have those resources, so that'll be down below. But the Strong's Concordance number is G3037. The word in Greek is lithos. This is pretty basic, just means a stone. It could be small stones, building stones, or a metaphor for Christ. You'll see that 3 different ways that it is used throughout the Bible. And then the Old Testament version is going to be Hebrew, so H68. Eben is going to be the word for stone there. You'll see a little bit more kind of explanation about that. Stone, large or small, common stone, stone that was used for materials like tablets, marble, hewn stones. We'll see some of that in the verses. Precious stones, stones of fire, stones containing metal such as ore, tool for work or weapon. Let's see, stone-like objects, hailstones, stony art, or stony heart, ice, sacred object as memorial Samuel set up to mark where God helped Israel to defeat the Philistines. Just lots of different ways that we see stone used there. I pull all of this from the Blue Letter Bible app. It's really a convenient place to pull all of that. Rather than rewrite it, they already have it, kind of set up in an easy way to understand. So going through the passages, I don't have a whole ton of notes because we've kind of gone into depth into some of these passages. Starting with 1 Peter 2, 4-5, we have covered this one. It says, "And coming to him as to a living stone, which has been rejected by people, but is choice and precious in the sight of God, you also as living stones are being built up as a spiritual house for a holy priesthood to offer spiritual sacrifices that are acceptable to God through Jesus Christ." This is kind of the main passage, I would say, for the entire devotional. I covered this in my first Living Stones, it's titled Living Stones process video. We kind of went into detailed study looking at this passage, so I'll be sure to link that down below and in a card here for you guys if you haven't caught that yet. Matthew 21:42, Jesus said to them, "Did you ever read in the scriptures, a stone which the builders rejected, this has become the chief cornerstone. This came about from the Lord, and it is marvelous in our eyes." John MacArthur is saying that this is referring to Jesus' crucifixion, and the restoration of the chief cornerstone anticipates his resurrection. So he is referencing an Old Testament passage. And so again, I've mentioned this before, I love seeing that connection of, the Old Testament speaking of Jesus even before he's arrived in the New Testament. This is one of those instances that we see there. Matthew 3:9, this was a passage we covered just briefly as a note in the God is Faithful Always process video that I did. It says, "And do not assume that you can say to yourselves, 'We have Abraham as our father,' for I tell you that God is able from these stones to raise up children for Abraham." So there's this belief that, John the Baptist is there baptizing people in the Jordan River, and the stone memorials that were placed there all the way back in the Old Testament by the Israelites are still there, and that's what he's referring to there in Matthew 3:9. Luke 19:40, Jesus replied, "I tell you, if these stop speaking, the stones will cry out." He's talking to the Pharisees. They're basically asking about the disciples, whether he'll make them stop talking. And he's saying, no, they're not going to stop talking. The stones will cry out if they do. He's commanded them to speak what they are speaking. John MacArthur says that this was a strong claim of deity and perhaps a reference to the words of Habakkuk 2:11. Scripture often speaks of inanimate nature praising God. We see that in Psalms 96:11, 98:7-9, 114 verse 7, and then Isaiah 55:12 are some examples of inanimate nature praising God. That might be a fun little study for you guys to do kind of as a side study. Very interesting to see that. And this is also the words of John the Baptist in Matthew 3:9. So this passage in Luke 19:40 is mimicking this verse here in Matthew 3:9. 1 Peter 2:7-8, "This precious value then is for you who believe, but for unbelievers, a stone which the builders rejected, this became the chief cornerstone, a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense. For they stumble because they are disobedient to the word, and to this they were also appointed." Again, referencing back to the Old Testament there here in the New Testament. That I believe, covered this also when we went through 1 Peter back on the first day. Mark 16:4, "And looking up, they noticed that the stone had been rolled away, for it was extremely large." This is referencing the resurrection of Christ when they come to the tomb and see that the tomb is empty. It's because they noticed that the stone had been rolled away. This stone was not a stone that any man could have rolled away easily in the middle of the night. And John MacArthur says that this was not to let Jesus out, but to let the witnesses in. Very interesting point there, that it wasn't Jesus rolling away the stone so that he could get out, or God rolling away the stone so he could get out. Jesus is God. Like, he doesn't need a doorway open for him. The moving the stone wasn't just for him to be able to come out. It was so that the witnesses could go in and see that Christ was gone. All right, moving on to the Old Testament passages, Isaiah 28:16. "Therefore, this is what the Lord God says, Behold, I'm laying a stone in Zion, a tested stone, a precious cornerstone for the foundation, firmly placed. The one who believes in it will not be disturbed." Is that similar to what we see referenced here in the New Testament passages there? Genesis 31:45, "Then Jacob took a stone and set it up as a memorial stone." So lots of images of memorial stones. We talked a little bit about those in the God is Faithful Always video. Joshua 24:27, "Then Joshua said to all the people, Behold, this stone shall be a witness against us, because it has heard all the words of the Lord, which he spoke to us, so it shall be a witness against you, so that you do not deny your God." Really important imagery with the stone there. 1 Samuel 17:49, "And David put his hand into his bag and took from it a stone and slung it and struck the Philistine on his forehead. And the stone penetrated his forehead and he fell on his face to the ground." This is David and Goliath. We will look at this story very soon, either next week or the week after, in our series here through the devotional. Genesis 28:22, "And this stone which I have set up as a memorial stone will be God's house, and everything that you give me, I will assuredly give a tenth to you." Deuteronomy 5:22, "These words the Lord spoke to your whole assembly at the mountain, from the midst of the fire, from the cloud, and from the thick darkness, with a great voice, and he added nothing more. He wrote them on 2 tablets of stone and gave them to me." This is referencing Moses bringing down the 10 commandments that have been written on 2 tablets of stone. Joshua 4:3-7, and command them, saying, take up for yourselves 12 stones from here out of the middle of the Jordan, from the place where the priest's feet are standing firmly, and carry them over with you, and lay them down in the encampment where you will spend the night. So Joshua called the 12 men whom he had appointed for the sons of Israel, one man from each tribe. And Joshua said to them, cross again to the ark of the Lord your God into the middle of the Jordan, and each of you take up a stone on his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the son of Israel. This shall be a sign among you. When your children ask after, saying, what do these stones mean to you? Then you shall say to them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it crossed the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. So these stones shall become a memorial to the sons of Israel forever. This is the passage, Joshua 4:3-7. I think we covered this in God is Faithful, if I remember correctly. And this is that passage that is believed Matthew 3:9 is referring to that set of stones in the Jordan River when John the Baptist is baptizing. Psalm 118:21-23. I will give thanks to you, for you have answered me, and you have become my salvation. A stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. This came about from the Lord, is marvelous in our eyes. We saw that again in some of those early New Testament, right here, Matthew 21-42. Will become the cornerstone, the one that's been rejected. This is seen here again in Psalm 118. And then Daniel 2:34, you continued watching until a stone was broken off without hands, and it struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay and crushed them. I couldn't even begin to go into the imagery that's found here in the whole book of Daniel, but specifically this statue in the book of Daniel. I did a study many years ago breaking down the different sections of the statue and what it was made out of and what the meaning of all that was. And so there are Daniel studies out there. I wouldn't recommend the one that I did, so I'm not even going to post it, share it. I no longer support the person or recommend the person who did that particular study, but I'm sure you can find some great Daniel studies out there to go through. Definitely a good one to work through to look at that. So there is a quick look at the study for the word stone. Again, a lot of just recap of the things we've already been covering thus far, and a little insight into some things that we'll be seeing very soon in the devotional kit. So for the process, I have my card here. I've already gone ahead and typed out the back side of the card, though I don't know that I'll really need it because I'm not getting too messy today, but I went ahead and just included that passage, 1 Peter 2:4-5, since I feel like that's kind of the key passage for this devotional, I would think, and then just included the information there. I'll stamp the Strong's Concordance number. I didn't really have any notes to include on there. I've had my notes extensively in my Bible and in the notebook I'm writing, and there wasn't any profound quotes that I saw that I wanted to include on here, so I didn't include anything like that. But for the art, I have a piece of sticker paper from the devotional kit that I've cut down in half. I was kind of trying to keep in mind what I had done in my Bible journaling entry yesterday. I had kind of a simple, soft background. There were lots of those stone die cuts. I'm kind of mimicking that in today's piece here. I do have one of these tags. I created this using the re-inker die. I know you're just going to see tons of this. Best go watch that video if you haven't yet, because I'm just going to be talking about these all the time. This one was done with the ground espresso re-inker, and it really turned out to be this awesome kind of pinky purple that perfectly matches this background here. And so this was a plain white tag that I dyed with that re-inker. Amazing. I have some fabric scraps from the actual piece that tied together to the devotional kit. I went ahead and cut off a snip of that, and we'll include that on here. And then I just have a couple of stamp sets that we'll use. And then I think I may add a little bit of foundry wax for the statue color. So we'll see how that goes. So let me go ahead, put you guys on fast forward, and we'll put together this card for the word stone. All right, so these large sticker panels from the devotional kit are awesome for these cards. They are full size, 8 inches tall. So I just cut them down in half. So they're 4 inches by 4 inches, which leaves me just enough little space there to tear off an edge, because the card is about 3 3/4 inches from the top of the card to the top of the word. And then I just cut away and reveal part of the sticker, place that down, and then pull the rest of the backer sheet off. That way I'm not trying to wield a 4-inch
sticky sticker to get it down on the background just evenly. Just doing a little at a time works best. And at that point, you could pretty much be done. You could just put, some words on there, some journaling, and you're pretty much good to go. But I am going to dress this up a little bit. I'm pulling the stamp from the new stamp add-on that says, "I love you, Lord, my strength, my rock." I love the scripty handwriting, and it just perfectly fit on this tag that I have here. And I'm going to emboss this. So I prepped the card, or prep the tag, I should say, with my EK Success powder tool. And then I'm going to ink up my stamp with some clear sticky ink and then apply my embossing powder. If you have questions about embossing, I do have a Tip Tuesday all about embossing. You can search Lindsay Decor Tip Tuesday embossing or Tip Tuesday anything that you have questions about, and I probably have a video about that. So I'm going to heat set that till it's good and melted. That was a copper colored embossing powder that I added on there. Really, really pretty. Picks up the kind of rosy pink tones from the background sticker. And then I'm going to go in with that foundry wax in Statue, and I have it on a block there, and I'm picking up with my finger and then applying it to the edges. And this stuff dries down to like powder, so you have to work pretty quickly while it's still wet, and then you have to melt it with your heat tool, and you'll see it turns into this really like molten metallic. It's amazing. And then I just clean it up with a little bit of alcohol on a paper towel, cleans it up off the surface. So here is that little piece of fabric from the devotional kit packaging. Don't throw anything away. I'm going to attach that with my tiny attacher, which behaved itself. If you watched the video yesterday, it did not. It's all in one day that all that was filmed. So apparently it just figured out how to behave within a matter of hours. I'm just adding some liquid glue to attach this to the back of the card there. I'm adding plenty because it's pretty bulky with that fabric up at the top. And I'm kind of sticking it on at an angle here, which I was a little nervous because that layout's not something that I typically do. But once I snip this off, I really like the look of that tag kind of popping in from the edge there. But then I realized I had meant to stamp underneath that tag. So I'm taking the scrap piece here and trying to figure out how I can mask off the tag so I can try to stamp. This was super sketchy. I wasn't sure that this was going to work. I would highly advise to do your stamping first and then attach the tag, because there is a lot of dimension on here with that ribbon. But we're going to wing it, and praise Jesus, it worked. So I've got some of those floral stamps. Going to ink them up with some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Since that background is just a sticker, it's not a true mixed media background, I don't have to use archival ink to stamp this. And I'm just masking off the tag and then pressing really firmly down, and I get that exactly where I would have wanted it had I stamped it first. This is what I wanted. This one was a little trickier because I'm fighting with that ribbon, but I get it. I do kind of move the mask slightly back on the tag, so a little bit of the tag is exposed, and that gives you an impression that's like right up to the edge of the tag. I don't know how to explain that other than if you completely mask the tag, you end up with just the slightest little gap between your stamping and the tag. But stamp first. Don't do what I did. So moving on to the back of the card, I already have pulled out my stamps for the Strong's Concordance number, G3037, and I'm inking it up with some Tattered Rose Distress Oxide ink. I need to find some good number stamps that are accessible for you guys. Everything's kind of getting sold out, so I need to pick something up. I may have one place for these mini worn stamps, and I'll link them down below for you guys. But I'm just going to add that back card to the front card, and there we go. That's the word study card for today. So if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those down below. I am going to try to pop in and answer questions and comments and things while I am away. All of the links will be down in the description box below the video. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.